The No Nonsense Roundtable, a weekly radio show and podcast where host Dom Genova interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. And now, here's your host, Dom Genova.
Well, my guest this week is Jessica Shanahan, and she is a co-founder of Feminists Choosing Life, an organization you may not have heard of, but you should know. So welcome, Jessica. How you doing?
Hi, Dom. Great. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for traveling down to my studio. I appreciate you having you. We've been talking a little bit before the interview, like we normally do, and there's a lot of different levels of this onion to draw back on. And the first thing I like to ask people is that silly little question I always like to ask people is that what did you want to do when you were 10 years old?
Oh, that's a fun question. I've never been asked that. I actually wanted to be a hairdresser.
Okay.
And I think the reason why was because I really like talking to people and getting to know them. And then when I was a little older, just a little older than that, maybe 15, I wanted to be a psychologist. So I think the psychology and the hairdressing goes together.
So in other words, you're a people person.
I am.
Are you
Thank you.
You sound like you're an extrovert. Actually, I'm an introvert. I'm really not an extrovert. You seem to be an extrovert, right?
I am.
Okay.
I grew up in a big family in Rochester. And I think when you have a big family, sometimes you have to be more social.
Yeah. How big is a big family?
Well, there were 6 of us.
Wow, that is
up,
but in
a tight
that's pretty good
time frame.
Yeah. And so you're originally a Rochesterian.
Yes, I am. I went to Mercy High School.
Okay.
And I just had my 40th high school reunion 2 weeks ago from Mercy.
Oh, God bless you. So let's go through a little path in life of what you've done and how you've gotten there. You know, college and careers and stuff like that before we start talking about the organization.
Absolutely. Well, as I said, I grew up in Rochester, New York, went to Mercy High School. My parents were amazing. We had 3 boys, 3 girls in the family, so we called ourselves the Brady Bunch. But I went to St. Joseph's University for college. That's in Philadelphia, and I was a marketing major. Then from there, I did not actually have a job, so I was very fortunate. I went on to Washington, D.C. and had an unpaid internship with Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. Yes. So lots of stories there, of course. But I was making my money as a server, as a waitress at a restaurant on Capitol Hill called Anton's, which is where the politicians would eat. And I served... I was a very good waitress, by the way. That was the term back then.
Being a people person, that's good. Yeah.
And I served Congressman John LaFalce, who was from Buffalo. And I told him I was from Rochester, and we got talking. And he offered me to come in for an interview. And on a very snowy day, I drove to Buffalo, New York, where he was mainly in Buffalo, but he had a Rochester office. Got hired to be a receptionist in Washington, D.C. So I started my the beginnings of what I did in politics, I guess, and lived with a few staffers, and we just it could have been a movie. But I like to tell people I learned so much from him. He was a pro-life Democrat, one of the first, and he was chairman of the Small Business Committee. So he had a very powerful role. He is an attorney. He actually passed away just this August. In fact, I was out of town when he passed away and could not go to his funeral. Congressman John LaFalce was a stalwart. He was a pro-life Catholic, liberal. I loved him. He had good policies. We got together for lunch last summer. And I brought a picture from my first day on the job, and he had a couple pictures, and we were great friends. And there's a lot of interesting stories behind that. But I did some policy work with him, and then I went on to go get a master's at American University.
Okay.
So met some people there, met my husband, came back here, got another master's degree, and was a hospital administrator at Strong Hospital. We started our family. We have 4 sons. that are within 5 years, so they're close together. They all went to McQuaid, and I was fortunate enough to be able to stay home. I did let my husband excelled in his career, and I excelled in my career as a mother and a volunteer in the community. And I will also like to say that when I was in Washington, D.C., I was very involved with Feminists for Life of America. And that was headquartered in the time in Kansas, but I helped bring it to Washington, D.C., signed a lease, and hired the current executive director, who is still there today, over 35 years later. And in my job at Feminists for Life of America, I became very good friends with Jane Sullivan, who is married to John Roberts, the Supreme Court, head of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So she was a member of Feminists for Life of America, and she was on the board with me.
Well, one of the things I think that a lot of people don't understand is that there are people that are liberal, but they're still pro-life.
Correct.
I mean, there's a whole organization that is Democrats pro-life, right?
It's a moral issue more than a political issue. And if you ask me, but of course. And so Feminists for Life of America is what morphed into what we started in Rochester, New York, called Feminists Choosing Life of New York.
So let's get down to the definition of quote unquote feminist, because a lot of people think that feminist means pro-abortion, pro-career.
Yes.
They have this misconception. So explain feminist to me.
Well, first of all, that is a label that is definitely attached with, I think, a stigma, if you will. I think it has a bad connotation due to the wave of feminisms that said that, women shouldn't stay home. Women shouldn't put motherhood first. But the early feminists, such as Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, were pro-life. And we, Feminists Choosing Life of New York, model ourselves off after the early feminists. We also do believe that women can do anything because we are strong and we can juggle things, unlike men. I think we are very good multitaskers.
Yeah.
And we are very, very strong. And the ability to be a mother and work, if that is what you choose to do, is wonderful. If you choose your career as motherhood, wonderful. If you choose to, for example, work full time. I was listening to an article in the New York Times just today that Amy Coney Barrett gave. And she talked a lot about how she manages to be a mother and have the most powerful job in the world. Right. A woman with the most powerful job in the world.
Right. I think the thing is that, I'll tell you a quote that I really subscribe to is, and I say this on the show all the time, Jackie Robinson's quote that a life has little meaning except on the effect it has on other lives. So if you subscribe to that, so what's more important than birthing and raising the next generation? Isn't that affecting a life? I mean, that's literally creating a life.
It's affecting generations as well. Yeah. Generational. I mean, it's a, if you have a strong mother, you have a strong future. And I have also read a book called First Mothers that shows that the presidents of the United States of America all had a very strong mother.
Yeah.
A lot of them had some weak fathers, actually. Oh, yeah. Or the mother was the stronger person. In almost every situation, going right back to Sarah Delano Roosevelt. Yeah. And there were a lot of absent fathers in those pictures, but very strong mothers. I'm not a proponent of absent fathers. I'm just saying mothers can do it all.
Well, I think it goes beyond even that. I think women need strong fathers, and men need strong mothers. I mean, you need, as far as a woman is concerned, and I guess everybody has their opinions about this, but as a father, and of course I fail at things all the time or whatever, but you try to you try to be as much of a role model as a human being as you desire to be.
Yes.
And the absence of that in a woman's life is there's even that with a mother in a man's life.
Well, fathers need strong.
We're different. Yeah, we're different talents.
Raise
right?
strong daughters.
Yeah. Right.
I mean, it's critical.
Yeah.
And we've seen the absence of fathers in the family.
Yeah.
And we know what's happening there when there's absent fathers or broken homes. It's often a broken spirit, and a broken child. So it's hard.
Well, and I think this new generation of women lately are questioning this idea that their career is tantamount in their lives, because I don't know anybody who's on their deathbed who said, I should have had less children, or I should have worked harder at the office, or whatever. But the thing is, I just perceive this, and like I said, anything I say you can disagree with or give me a counterpoint to it. But my wife, Nita, has an advanced degree, wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. And she did that. We had our first child in 1989. And the thing is that she refused to be derided by people saying, oh, you're a you're a stay-at-home housewife, or more derogatory, oh, you're a housewife. No, she is as capable and as intelligent and as outgoing and talented as anybody, but that's what she wanted to do. She wanted to be home with the children. And I have the same thing with my daughter. My daughter is a very accomplished attorney, and she just had her second child. That's what she wants to do. But I think the pendulum is swinging in a way where this is you're probably getting a little less derided for that than you were years ago, because the women that have grown up now that are in their 40s and looking back and going, gee, I might have missed something there, right?
Yes, I would agree with that.
So tell me about your organization, the strategy and tactics. I mean, obviously, you feel a certain way about being pro-life.
Pro-life feminism. Yes.
I don't see you as an organization that is out, I call it throwing stones and throwing rocks, at people, or deriding people themselves. And stuff like that.
We build bridges.
You build bridges and being a place of acceptance for people that think and believe as you do, and quite frankly, as I do.
Thank you. Yes, Feminists Choosing Life of New York is very dear to my heart. I hope people take the time to look us up on the internet. We are FCLNY, for Feminists Choosing Life of New York.org. We have an office on East Avenue in Rochester, 1545 East Avenue. We're always there. Feel free to stop in. We work with many organizations across the state. See, it's very critical in New York to have a group like us, because New York State is considered the abortion capital of the country. It's actually, it's becoming a tourist destination for abortions, because some of our neighboring states, such as Pennsylvania, have restrictions on abortion. Ohio has restrictions on abortion. So they're bringing them in at no cost to the patients, giving them hotels, or the women, whatever you want, seeking abortions. And they're having their abortions in New York State, because in New York State, you can have an abortion right up until the moment of birth for the health of the mother. And health of the mother is not defined. So that could be emotional health. It could be economic health. So there are late-term abortions going on in New York State. There are abortions of all kinds, sex selection abortions. The abortion pill is being mailed from New York State to other states. So we are a critical voice to protecting the voiceless, the unborn. We work with many groups in Rochester. We have on our website, we have something called Bread in Bed, a link that we made with all the resources in New York State that are free or close to free, where you can find housing, food, shelter, things like that. The social service agencies are out there. In fact, the Catholic Church is the largest social service agency in the world other than the government. And we are grateful for them. I am myself Catholic. It's one of the reasons why I do what I do. Our organization is a non-religious organization. It's a nonpartisan organization. It could be affiliated with any religion, any political party. That doesn't matter to us. It's what we do to help women, to help children, to help families. We also work with a sex trafficking organization because sex traffic victims, an anti-sex trafficking organization is what I obviously meant to say, because sex trafficked victims are at the greatest risk of abortion. It keeps them in the industry. So the people that traffic them, they get pregnant all the time. And I must say, Planned Parenthood does not ask the questions that they need to ask. They do not ask, how are you in this situation for the second, third, fourth, fifth time, 12th time? Why are you being brought in here by somebody that is so much older than you? They don't want to know the answers to questions, because if they find out the answers, they're technically supposed to report them. If they don't ask the questions, they don't have to report them. You know, we are very against Planned Parenthood, our organization. We are anti-Planned Parenthood because the way that they make their money is through abortions.
Well, one of the things that we've lost our common perception or agreement about so many different things. So I don't subscribe to it, but I can understand why when somebody says, "Oh, it's just a clump of cells." I understand that. I don't agree with that, but I do understand that. Okay. I mean, our grandson was born prematurely, 4 pounds 11 ounces. Okay, he's a healthy human being, and he at some point in time you have to admit this is a human being. Okay, this is if you're talking about the day of abortion or late term or whatever, that is a human being.
Yes,
it is able to survive outside of the womb.
Of course.
Okay, now. My suspicion is that if most people actually knew what was happening when you terminate that pregnancy at the 9th month, they would be horrified at the process. That's right. Just my
that's
thought.
True. I mean,
that's my thought.
Of 80% of people are against late term abortion.
Right.
I mean, there's certain things we should be able to agree on.
Right.
And that would be one of them.
Well, and that's the point.
Exactly.
So that's the point. So at what point is it a human being? Okay. So 5 minutes ago it wasn't, and then 5 minutes later it is. I mean, I don't quite get that.
Well,
so that
yes.
In all these laws, the way the laws are constructed, even in Europe, you don't have this really extreme.
No.
Right?
No, you don't. And in fact, there are like 8 or 10 states. I mean, including Washington D.C., that have no restrictions whatsoever on abortion. New Mexico, Alaska, Colorado, none, no restrictions. So in Europe, where you think it's so liberal over there, no, they literally have, sex selection abortion is not allowed. And so we have states here that is okay.
Right.
And, we gotta be concerned for humanity when we allow things that we know are inherently wrong. Laws do change behaviors.
Okay.
And laws are put in place for certain reasons and to help people make good decisions, and in some cases are not able to make good decisions, no matter if that's their circumstance or whatever. And I think we can agree, there's certain things we as a feminist choosing life of New York protect life from the womb to the tomb. Mm-hmm. So we are consistent life. We're not just pro-life, anti-abortion. But we do believe from the moment of conception that it is a human being starting to create life. Now, there are situations that, for example, to save a mother's life, for her life. Yes, of course, we would protect the woman, the mother, over the child in that situation. If they want to pin us as, not for women, no. And even in the case of a woman's life, her health, no, but her life, yes. We are having a gala at the Country Club of Rochester in just a couple of weeks. And one of our speakers is a local attorney, and her name is Megan Cairns-Tankle. And she and her husband found out when they were living in Texas, and she was working for a Supreme Court justice on the Fifth Circuit, that her baby had a 0.5% chance of survival, 1 in 200. And I think that was just the lowest chance you give to anybody is 0.5. They don't say 0.10% chance. Or so in Texas, they had encouraged her to go to another state and get an abortion. Well, she ended up just figuring we want to hold this baby. We want to love this baby, and an opportunity to hold our son. They found out it was a son. His name is Leo. I mean, I could cry. I have the chills. He is 3 years old now. He is a healthy, beautiful boy. Yes, he had needed oxygen. He had some early traumatic events associated with whatever the condition was, that he's a healthy, beautiful son. And she wants to tell her story for the first time at our gala, because she wants other women to know that there's a lot of hope out there. I also have a son that was told he was probably going to be Down syndrome with the first child. I got all the tests. He went to Georgetown University. He's the smartest person I know. He truly is. He's my hero. And he works at the Washington Post in a great career. And you know what? There's stories of people that didn't have that positive outcome. But I can tell you, I don't think there's too many people that had the baby, got to hold the baby, and said, I wish I had instead had an abortion.
Yeah.
So it's all kinds. We can't trust. Sometimes you got to trust and just trust.
Yeah.
And, it's not for us to say.
Well, there are cases where aborted, allegedly aborted babies have actually been rescued and raised, right?
Of course. And in fact, the other speaker at our gala that is on November 5th coming up is a woman named Melissa Odin, who is coming from Kansas City. And she actually survived a saline abortion. She started a group called the Abortion Survivors Network.
Wow.
And there's many people out there that for 5 days, they tried to abort her. 5 days. She's written a book. And she didn't find this out until she was 19. She was adopted, and she didn't find out the story of her life until she was 19 years old. But ever since she found out the story of her life, she made it her life's mission to tell her story.
Can you believe that?
I can't. I kind of can't. For what fighter is that?
Yeah.
I say, you are a strong woman. I mean, yeah. I mean, for 5 days they tried to abort her, and she survived.
Isn't that amazing? What a start! And she's going to be at the
she's our other speaker, our national speaker. Is coming in, and we were expecting a nice crowd. This is our only fundraiser that we have. We have every other year we have a fundraiser in Rochester. We're not a big organization. We are a powerful organization. We have a lot of followers across the world, but because we're an advocacy organization, so we educate women, we educate people by partnering with a lot of different organizations, and we're also against capital punishment. Which is pretty interesting, because we just believe that life is sacred from the moment of conception until natural death. And, we don't harp on capital punishment in New York State, because we are New York State, because there hasn't been anybody killed in New York State in over 50 years. So it's not an issue in our state. Now, it is an issue, obviously, in other states, and we are against capital punishment, against killing. And we're against euthanasia, and we are really against this so-called medical aid in dying. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but that passed in New York State, passed the legislature in New York State just in May, but Kathy Hochul, our governor, has not passed it yet officially. But that would allow terminally ill patients to get the drug that kills themselves.
Well, one of I kind of fashion myself as a little bit of a marketing guy, and the name of your organization I think is actually brilliant, because it's you say a choice. Who's against choice? So it's we're the pro-choice movement. Who's against choice? It's like right, it's choice. But you're feminists choosing life. So there is another choice. They have a choice. You have a choice. Everybody's got a choice. But it's feminists choosing life, and I think that's just a brilliant way to frame what you're talking about. And the other thing I think people have to understand, and I know we said this before, you're not going out there and stopping people from getting into Planned Parenthood and with the signs and the stuff and whatever. No, you're
supporting women with dignity.
Right. And I really do believe that looking at the world today and the way this new generation, these new the kids that are coming up now, the pendulum on all these issues is starting to tend a little bit more conservative. They say the Catholic Church is starting to get more members. I mean, people are starting to get a little bit more I don't know, connected with their spirituality, their humanity, and whatever, and that's got to reflect itself. Well, how are your donations going and your sponsorships?
Well, I'm really glad you asked, because it's not an easy cause to raise money for, and we do have expenses. We've got an office, we've got an attorney that is our executive director, a fabulous woman, mother of 4, herself a domestic violence survivor. She's got a master's in law. She's incredible. And we have got staff. We've got a lot of things we do with marketing and internet and book clubs. And so, and we have billboards in New York State right now that says, we have 2 of them out, and we have radio ads. One of them says, love them both.
Yes.
And the other one says, you can do it. And it's a beautiful picture. That's all on our website. So make sure you check out our website, fclny.org. But as far as our donations are going for the gala, we are sold out. And the businesses have been beyond supportive. We have gotten support from businesses that in the past, I think would have closed the door in our face. Century Liquor, they donated to us. They told me they only donate to healthcare, education, and United Way causes. They loved us. The Pittsburgh Farms Dairy, many restaurants in town, many organizations have donated to us. The RPO gave us tickets.
Wow.
The Strath Allen has a package, on and on. So we're going to have a good time. And like I said, we don't do this often. We're not, and it's expensive to host something at a country club, but we like to do it right. So we're quality.
Well, are there any books you can recommend to people that you've read about this whole movement and whatever? Is there anything in particular that
well, we have a library. We have a library at our office.
Oh, really?
So anyone can stop by and pick up a book.
Okay.
So the office again is 1545 East Avenue. You can check out a book. There's a book called Pro-Life Feminism. We've got all kinds of books that talk about life and other issues related to even peace, the peace movement. And so stop by and pick out a book anytime.
And you have members, right? I mean, how many people?
We don't charge anything to be associated with our group.
Okay.
A long time ago we had a small initiation fee and kept people. We want anybody to be able to get involved with us. We have book clubs and film clubs. And those are also online.
Okay.
And I will say that we do ask for a $5 donation for those because we've noticed that the other side, people will not believe me, but this is the truth. They'll take up all of our tickets and put it as sold out. They even did this at our picnic.
Oh my!
They're pretty bad people.
That's dirty. That's dirty pool.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So even for our picnic, so now we do charge money for our annual picnic, $5. We've got to. and they're all donations. But check us out, because we have a book club there that we have a book, then we discuss it. And even if you haven't read the book, no problem, you'll learn. We have a film club. We're showing a film in Buffalo next month. We just had a book club last week, and I can't remember the name of the book. It was on October 1st. But yeah.
Okay. So
it was called Mom Jeans. It was called Mom Jeans.
Okay. Okay. So we are just about out of time. So let's talk about that website again.
Okay. It's www.fclny.org. fclny.org. We also are on Instagram or TikTok, all those things. But on our website, you can sign up for anything, emails. We'd love to put you on our email list. And we have a lot of volunteer opportunities. I want to let you know that we go to the New York State Fair every year. And it's actually only our second year going. I shouldn't say every year, but we're going to be going every year. Yeah. We communicate with so many people, and most of them very friendly. And we have petitions for them to sign. We do a lot of advocacy. We're allowed to do as a nonprofit, we're allowed to do 20% legislation. So we fully do our 20% legislation. And one of the big initiatives we had this year was against the assisted suicide bill. Yeah.
Okay. Well, Jessica, thank you ever so much. I'll see you at the gala.
Thank you.
And
look forward to it.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it. And again, thank you ever so much for coming to the studio today.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Tom.
Thanks for listening. You can find our previous shows at nononsenseroundtable.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.